tag. Now we add class attribute, and it is inside that class attribute that we will now add the value. Now let's go to fontsawesome.com so that we will see what we add as value. So in here, you can just come here and search for the icon that you want. Let's say I want icon with the 3 lines. That would be like tab. So when it brings it out, so there's one particular one that I'm looking for. But so as not to waste our time, let me try back. Very good. So this is what I want. So I'll just click on it. Then I can just copy this code and paste it inside my HTML. Let us use the live server to live server. You can make use of this, or you can just come down here. You will see go live. Then you can click on it. So let me just make use of this one. As you can see that it is showing on our web page. Now, I want us to note this, that anything that we want to show on our web page, whether the main body, the footer, or the header, it should always be inside this our body tag. None of our code should be inside this edge tag, apart from the ones that we give information, or the ones that we want to link, maybe with CSS or JavaScript. Okay. Now, if I click on this link, it will take me to where they store the code, which is the minified version of it. So I can search whatever I want to here and make use of it. So we can increase the font size with FA, and let me say 5 times. Let me just put it side by side so that we will see it immediately. So it starts from 1. And it ends at I think 11. 11 or thereabouts. So this is how we can add icons to our page. Then it can also be spanned. We normally make use of the inline elements. So we can add this to the. So we have different type of icons. We have different type of icons. So now let's move to the real work for today. And we will be starting with Flexbox. So Flexbox simply means flexible box. It really helps with the layout of our web page. It is a set of CSS properties that we can use to build one-dimensional layout. So the first thing that we need to do is to create a flex container. So like the image on my screen here, you will have a flex container. Then inside it, you will have your flex items. So let us practicalize this. Now, I have created a CSS file with the name flex.css, and I have linked it with this line 10 of my code. So the first thing that we need to do is to create a flex container. Let me give it a class container, and give it the name container. It can be any name that you want, but I'll give this one container. So after this, the first one we serve like as the parents. Then we have child. So I just want to use one shortcut here. Then I will also want to add another value for this class attribute. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. Let me just go to some item. So I want to name it item 1 to 8. So now let's go to our CSS. So as I said, that the first thing that we need to do is to create a container and then make that container a flex box. With the display of flex. So inside this we have display and the value will be flex. Then let me just give it a background color so that I can see. Then I would like to give each of those items, which is item 1 to 8, height and color. So item 1, which is one color. And this. Before this, let me give everything. So we talked about div. So this will get all the descendant elements. I just want to give them margin and pattern. Let me also do this one size. Now let me comment out this one first, so that we can see it how it will look normally. So I would like to duplicate this. distance and give is different column. Okay, so what we are going to see is that by the time we add flex, everything will change. So by the time we give it the display of flex, then everything will be one dimensional. It will just goes to one line. And for the flex container, it has some properties. So we have what we call gap. We have the justified content. So I'll just list them. Then we'll talk on what they do. Let me replace my font so that you can see. We have the justified content. Then we have what we call flex direction as well. We have flex wrap. We have align content. Then we have align items. So these are the major properties that we can give the flex container. Now the flex items itself, they have their own properties. Just like I showed us that the parent element, that is the one that we are going to give the display flex to, which will make it the flex container. Now that container has a property of its own. Now inside this we have what we call flex items, and those ones too, they have their own properties that we can add. So for the container now this gap, let me just give it 20 pixel. It defines the gap between those flex items. Let me make it 2 pixel so that you can see, and we can also make it 0. Of course, the default is 0. If I make it 50 pixel, as you can see that the gap now is wider. So the first thing that display flex will do is to make everything come into one line just like this. Then you can now start to style it with the rest of the properties that I wrote from line 36 to 41. So let's start with flex. Let's start with flex direction now. We have different values for this one. It can be column, it can be column reverse. So let me just start with this one now. For the column is just like the y-axis. Like if we know our normal x-axis and y-axis, now column will give us the y-axis, y row. I don't want to use that one so that it can stick. Let's just see column as the x-axis, like from top to bottom. Then row as the x axis, which should be from left to right. So by the time I gave it flex direction column, it changed everything. So from top to bottom, as you can see here. Now we can add column reverse, which it will still be column, but it will now reverse it. So instead of it being from top to bottom, it will now be like from bottom to top, like instead of from A to reverse with what we call the row. So as I said earlier, it will be from left to right. Then we have row reverse. So it will just reverse it. let me just leave this one as well. And let's move on to flex wrap. Now, for flex wrap, we have 3 values. The default one is no wrap. That means it will not wrap it. Now, we have what we call the wrap. Wrap means that it will only fit in to the available space. Like when it is no wrap, everything will just be on one line. But when we have wrap, it will wrap it to fit the width of this our web page. Now, if I increase this, you will see that instead of it to have more than like unlike before that we have like three like 4 rows. Now it is just 2 rows, so it will always fill in the next available space. Now we have the wrap reverse as well. So it will reverse it. So let me just leave that one as wrap. Now there is what we call justify content. Now this justify content, it can be center. It has different values as well. It will center everything. Now let's also have it in mind that justify content 2 works for the, let me say, the x-axis. Let me just increase this so that you will see it will put everything at the center of the page. Now we have what we call flex start. Now flex start means it should be from the beginning of the page. Let me comment out this one so that you will see. Let me just comment out 5 to 8 so that we will see how this works. As you can see, flex start, it will start from the left side of the page. So that I will not continue to increase it, let me just make it this too. So flex start will make it to be at the start of the page. Then center, it will center it. Then flex end. We have what we call flex end, which means it should move to the end of the page. So we have what we call space around. Still for the justify content. So space around means it will give space for both the left and the right side. Now we have space between. Space between will only give space in between the elements. So if we want one to be at the left and one to be at the right, this is how we are going to do it. Now let's move to align items. So let me just remove this one so that we see how align items work. So it is these align items, it is used to align the flex items. Now let me give the container height so that we will see how it works. Let me use the height of, let's say, 500 pixels. Let me reduce it to 2. I just want us to avoid scrolling and scrolling. So now we also have center. Then we have flex stats, which will make all the items to start from the beginning. And we have flex end, which will take you to the end. Then we have the stretch, which is the default value. As you can see that everything is stretching, so it won't change anything since it's the default value. Then we have what we call the baseline. So it will set the default height. Now let's move to the next one, which is the align content. So the align content, it also has the same values as the justify content. So we have let me start with space between. Let me add the battery. So for that one, the space between for the align content is the space between this A and D. But for the justify content, the space between is the space between A and B, like the ones that are on the same line. x-axis, but for the align common content is the space between the first row and the next row. So we have the space around as well. Then we have let me just give it that. So that we can see what we are doing. We have the space around, we have the space between. This was the first thing that we did, as you can see. Then we have the space around. So it is still the same thing. Space between it will make the first one to be at the top and the last one to be at the bottom. Then we have the space around, like the top and the bottom of each item, we have space. Now we have the stretch too. So it will stretch each of the items. Then we have the center. So this flex makes it really easy for us to control our web layout. Unlike me using floats and position. So for the align content, we have the flex start tool and the flex end. So let me just reduce it again. So that we see the effect of the flex start and the flex end. So this is the flex end. So let's say I want to center only this one, only this A on my page. So this is what I will give it. I will give it both the align content to the center, justify content as well. It should be center. So we can give justify content center and align content to the center, which will make it to be at the center of our page. So now let's move to the flex items itself, what we can add. So the flex items will has different properties. So it has the order property, it has the flex row, it has the flex shrink, it has the flex basis, then the flex and the align self. So let us quickly verticalize that. So Let me comment out like this. Yeah. So let us start with the reflex grow property. For each of the D, reflex. Let me just do this one in between here so that you can see it. And let me comment out all these ones. So only leave it as display flex, and I need the align items too. So let me just move to the align item to be sure. So we will still need to take time and practicalize this ourselves. Let me remove this one. Let's work with it right inside this place. So let me just give this a style and make it reflect there. Let's go. Let's say 4. Let me comment this one now so that we can see the changes. As you can see that this A is larger, like it has a wider width than the rest. Let me just increase it so that you can see. So the flex grow works in such a way that it will always go to fit in whatsoever size, like whatsoever the device that we use. Just as you can see now. Let me just remove it down for you. Now, let's move to flex tree. Now, so let me just shrink this div, this line 13. So let me just add that one to this place. We have what we call flex shrink. Let me make it to be 0. Here we go, so that you can see. So we want only this 3 to shrink. So we just add flex shrink to be 0 here. Then let's move to the flex basis. So for the flex, let me add flex go to this one. So now let's also work on the flex basis property. So it will specify the initial length of that particular flex item. So let's make this one now. One is flex basis of 200 is there. This is how it will be. As you can see that the T1 is to shrink to fit in the space that it has. Now there is just one particular property that we can use for the 3, which is for the flex grow, for the flex shrink, and for the flex basis. And that is, let me just show you how we can make use of that one. So I'll still make it on this third item, which is C. So we only have flex, and the first one is will be for grow 0. So we normally use integers. Then 1. Let's just say by default flex grow is 0. Then flex shrink is 1, and flex basis is open. So but we can change that. Let's just use it and change it. Is there. Then you can make it not to be shrinkable. So that is how we work with that flex property. Now we have what we call align self. Now that align self is used to align just that particular flex item. So it should take effect on the item that we want it to take effect on. Let us to make it this. This one. So we have what we call align self. Let me align this one as center. Now, for it to show, I need to give it height, because align works more with, so you can see align works more with top to bottom, while justify works with left to right. Now let's see. We have what we call order as well. So for order, let me make use of this D, which is the first one I want for. Now the default value is 0. Now let's say I want to make this D to be the first element, so we will give it a value that is less than 0. Let's say -1. It will move it to the front of every other one, because the default value for A, B, C is 0. So A, B, C now they have order to be 0, but I've changed the order of this to be -1. Now, what if I want to make this A to be the last one? Then I will give it the highest order as well. Let me give it 1. So it moves to 2. Now, if I want this B to be the last, which is this 2, this is item 2, I will give it order that is higher than every one of them. Let me give it 2. So this is how we can move our flex. This is how we can move our flex item. Now, it may look a little bit confusing, but if you take your time and practicalize it, then you will understand it. I hope you can still hear me.
Yes.
Okay. So let's just move to grid now. So grid is another way you can add that you can describe the. You can also use grid to describe the layout of our web page. Now, for grid, it is 2-dimensional. Grid is a set of CSS properties for building 2-dimensional layouts, unlike flex, which is just 1-dimensional. So it is still the same thing. If we want to make this to be a grid, what we need to do first is to give it a container and make the display to be grid, just like we did for the let box. So I would still like to use this same one. Let me just clear this. Clear this. So we can still use this one to classicalize grid. So the first thing is to create the parent element. It can be div, it can be main, it can be section. So you will now give it a class. I'm giving this one class container. Then the child elements here, they are also called the grid items. Let me show this so that we can. So for CSS Grid, we have rows and columns. So the direction of column is top to bottom, while for row is left to right. And we have what we call lines too. So we have column lines and we have row lines. As we know that column is from top to bottom. So the first one here will be column line 1. This one is column line 2, column line 3, line 4, line 5. Then for row, this one will be column line 1, column line 2, just like that to 5. So we have what we call gap too. We have the column gap, which is the gap between the first item and the next one. Like from top to bottom. That's how column gap works. We should just put this in our mind that column works from top to bottom, while row works from left to right. So this will be the row gap. This will also be the row gap. Now, let me show this last one. So, as you know that this one will be the first column line, this one will be the second, third, just like that. The same thing with the row lines. Now, the first element is row 1, like the first grid item will be in row 1, column 1. Then the next one to the right, it should be row 1, column 2. I just hope we get all these analogy before we start practicalizing it. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I think we should just move to the practical aspect of it. So let me comment that video. I can still leave it, but the first thing that we are going to do now is to add the display property to that our container, and the value of the display now will be grid. So we have different properties for this container, just like we have for Flexbox. Grid containers too has its own properties, and each of the grid items too, they have their own properties. So let me just add this. The first one that I would like to talk about is the gap. So let me give you the gap of 50 pixels. So this is how if you look, if you give its gap. Now this gap that it is giving it is for both the row and the column gap. So we have the row gap, then we have the column gap. So there's still one thing that we will add for it to display the way we want it to display. But I just want us to get this gap first. Now the row gap is 50. Then the column gap, it sets it to 100. So I can comment out this one. We don't need this one again, because this gap helps us to set both the row and the column gap. So let's talk on the grid templates now. So we have the property of grid templates. We call it grid template columns. We also have for row. Now for column, it will help us to know the number of columns that we want to have. Let's say I just want to have 2 columns here, so I can give it auto. That means it will take the number of space that it can take. So everything on our page, it will just be 2. It will just be 2 columns. Then it will now spread itself out to the rows. Now I can also give it Let me just give it 500 pixel. 500 pixel. So now, as you can see that this one is not flexible enough. We have to take the whole, even if we try to put it on a smaller device. So there is what we call fraction. We can use the auto and we can use the fraction. Fraction makes it flexible as well. So it will only take the available space on any screen device. But let's say I want more than one column. I can still put it like this. Like this. That means it will give me 4 columns. Now, instead of me writing this 4 times, there's a shortcut to it, which we call repeat. So what I want to say now is that it should repeat this for me 4 times. This value, it should repeat it for me. So let's say I just want 3 columns. It will repeat it for me. So there's another property for the row. We have grid template rows. So as you can see that this one is I've already made it 4 columns. So I can now we have 2 rows. So what I will write here now is row. Let me just say, let me start with pixel, 100 pixel. Then the second one, let me say I just want 50 pixels. Let me make this one like this. So I can make it fraction as well. 1 FR and 1 FR. Then I can make the first one to be 1 FR and the next one to be auto. So now for this to work, let's quickly give this height. Let's give this height of 500 pixels. So that we will see our fraction. Okay. Now let me give it 200. So we can see how this works. So the first one will take one fraction, and the next one will take only the space that is needs. Now, let me now comment out this so that we will see how it works. I'm giving it a row gap. This is the gap for the row. The gap between this A and E is for the row. So let me just make this one to be 10 pixels. That one is for the column. this one, this one, this one. So we have like 4 now. The next thing that I would like to...
Sorry, please, what's the shortcut for commenting out?
Control, comma.
Control, comma, okay.
Yeah.
Is that only applicable for CSS or it's for both CSS and HTML?
It is applicable for any language. Like if you are using VS Code. So let's say I want to comment out only this line. I will use control, comma. If I also come to HTML and I want to comment out only this line, I can use control, comma as well. So now,
okay,
if you want to comment out multiple lines, we normally use Shift Alt A. So I'll just highlight everything that I want to comment out. Press the Shift key, the Alt key, and the A key. So that one to work for any language, whether HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Python. As long as you are using this VS Code, we have so many shorthand properties that you can make use of. And I will also like you to make research on that too, for the keyboard shortcuts. So,
okay, all right, sir.
The next thing that I would like to talk on this grid is justify content property. And I said earlier, we don't just make both the row and the column to be of gap 10 pixels, and the width column to be like this. So let me just comment out this one for you now. So,
Sorry, please, how do you now restore after commenting out?
It's still the same thing. You will still press the same control, comma, yes.
Okay.
So we have already made this one to be display grid, then gap to be 10, which means that both our row gap and our column gap will be 10. So let me just add the justified content now. We have justified content. We have different values for this one. Let me just start with the space evenly. We have space evenly, which means that it is just as the name is, it will spaces evenly. Like each of the grid items we have the same space. And you can see if the space is evenly. So the next thing that I would like to talk on is the space around. We have what about space around. So let me just increase. So for us to see the effect, let me just still give it pixel. I'll give it. Just select all the ones. Remove the symmetry. Let's see other ones. So space around you give both left and right space, as you can see on the screen now. Then the next one that I will talk about is the space between. So this will give you space in between them. As you can see now, the space will be in between. So let us always remember what justify content will do and what align will do. So we also have center. You need everything to be at the center of the page. So we have what we call start and end too. So it should start from the beginning of the page. Let me just reduce it again. Now you can see how it works. Then end too. Let me just make it in just two. So start with make it be at the beginning. Then center is to center it. Then end. So that is how it works. Now let's move to align content. So for the align content row, we need to add ads to this. So that we can see now we can see the effect on the page. Align content. Let us start with the spacing area. It is still the same way for the justify content. We have space evenly. We have space around. Then we have space around. Then we just increase it so that we see. Now we are working on the rows now. So we have center too. You can make it to be at the center of the page. Okay. So you bring everything to the center. Then we also have space between. We have space between. If you make the first one to be at the top and the last row to be at the bottom of our page, then we have the start and we also have the end. So if you make everything to be at the start, then to end, all of these names, it is just as it takes the meaning of the name. That is why coding is not as hard as you think, because it still uses our normal English language. So let's now talk about the grid item itself. We have talked about the properties of the grid container. So now let's move to each of those items. Now, for the items, let me just clear these ones and leave the gap. So I still have my place to be grid, of course, then I am giving it a gap of 10 pixels, then grid templates columns. Let me make it okay. I still want my 4 columns. So let's say I want to give this first item, this a property. Now, as you know that we have given each item classes, there is one class item that is for all of them, but they have different classes as item 1, 2, item 3, item 4, to item 8. So now I want to work on only item 1. So there is a property called grid column. So let's say I want this to span from 1 to 5. Let's just say to 2. So this is how it works. Now, the first value here, this is where it will start. It will start from the first gap and end like from the first line and end at the third line. So what I'm actually trying to say is that let it span this line 1, line 2, then end at line 3. So let's say I want it to end at 4. It will take it up to 4. Now let us view this again so that we can understand how it works. Column 1, column 2, column line 1, column line 2. So line 1, line 2, line 3. So if I want it to start from line 1, it will start from line 1, then it will end at line 4, like 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is how grid column works. Now, if I want you to start on column 1 and span to 3 columns, we can also write this one. 3. So that means it will span, like this one will be the first column, the second column, and the third one. So if I want it to span those two, first and second. Now let's say I want this item 2 to span from 2 to 3. It should span 3 columns. So that is how it works. Let's say I want you to span those 2. As you can see that it is very flexible to maneuver our way with grid. So we have, the way we have grid column, we also have grid row. So let me just put down now for grid row. We can do the same thing. Let's say, let me just change this one to 2. This I just want 2 columns now. So I can say grid row, let it span to 4. So it is still the same way for the column, but now we are going to count it 1, then it will be 1, 1, then 2, 2, then 3, then 4. So it will stop at the 4th line. Then let's say I want it to span 2 rows. Span 2. So it will span for only row 1 and row 2. So we will also need to research more on that. So we can also name our grid items. Let me just comment this one now. So let me just, now if we want to name our grid item, what then the property that we use for that is grid area. So let me quickly show how that one works. So let me say that the first one is area 1. So let me just make it area 1. Now, if I want to use it, I will come to the container. So, area 1. Because here it will not be grid template areas. It will not be column. So we use the grid template areas for that one. So we can say area 1, area 1. So we should put it in this form. So let's just say I want to do this one. Now, let's say I still want more columns. So I can just put dot dot dot. So anyone that wants to fill that space can now fill it. So I will really like us to classicalize this one by ourselves. Let me just give us one more instance. So it should just be like a simple web layout. So let me just make this one like the header. So that we can see how this one works. Let's see, we have this is lovely. And this is your right. Your footer. So let me comment that down. And I want to make it to be like a normal web system. So the first one, let me just give it a grid area of header. And let me give the next one. Let me just copy this so that I can paste along. So I'll call this one I'll come to the third one. I'll call it main. Read area. I'll call this one right. So it's made the footer. That should be. And I'll call this one footer. So let me comment out the remaining one again. Yeah. I will come to my container and give it display of grid, which is still there. Then I still like this gap of 10 pixels. So let me just give this container a padding. I don't want this to have template areas. So the first one I want it to be header. So and I want 6 columns. Header. Okay. So the next one, I want it to be the next one. I want it to be main. Which one to be? So I want to put that here. So let me just show us how this will look like on our page. So this is how it will look like. And let's say I want menus to still be here. I can close menu and it will look like this. So I will really like us to take our time and master it. So we can use Grid for our web layout. It really makes it easier for us, and Flexbox too, the first one that we learned. So this will bring us to the end of today's class. And
Yeah, sorry, I have a question.
okay.
Now, sorry, can you go back to that grid page? The browser where we saw the.
Okay.
Now, how does this work now on our web page? Does that mean everything we type on our header will come under this header box or what?
Yes. Then we will use the grid items to style them.
Oh.
And it's not necessary that we follow this format. You can use the first value that I talked of, which is the grid templates, columns, and rows. So that one you can give it value of one fraction or pixel, but it is better to use fraction or we use auto, so that it will be flexible on any device. So I just want us to really practicalize this. Then I want to ask, have we installed Prettier, like on our VS Code?
Yes, I think you told us to do it
the very first class. So if we install it with the extension Prettier, so I have it installed.
Then we use Beautifier too, where you copied I think that was the second class.
So now, if you want to set up this Prettier, you just go to your settings. So you can use Control, comma for that. That's the shortcut for. Then you can look for formatter. I just quickly want to chip in this. So here you will see your default formatter. So you will click here and scroll to Prettier. Then whenever you save your code, let's say I just have these things scattered and it is not really okay. By the time I do Control S, everything will be back to the normal space, like how it ought to be. Also for this CSS too, when I click Control S, you can see that my screen changed a little bit. So it will help you to arrange it. Then one last thing for these settings, look for wrap. If you notice that all my code, I can see it at once. It is not extending inside here. Now, inside this settings, just type wrap, you will see word wrap. Then make it to be on. Now, if I make it to be off, you will see that my code will enter where it's not supposed to enter. Then I will now have to scroll to see it, as you can see my screen now. But if I just make it to be on, then it will help me wrap up my code so I will see everything as well.